This episode of the Esoteric Order of Roleplayers is brought to you by the generosity of our backers on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/esotericrp to find out how you can become a backer too. The Esoteric Order broadcasts from Santa Fe, New Mexico. We recognize these episodes are produced on the traditional territory of the Tewa-speaking Pueblo peoples, and we acknowledge their community, their ancestors, their elders both past and present, and future generations. The Esoteric Order of Roleplayers present The Batman Role-Playing Game, an esoteric duet with David Larkins as the Game Master.
Good. Thank you.
Great
AI.
and good. Yes.
It was great and good.
All right. Well, here we are.
Well, yes, we are here.
We're here.
You're in the ether.
We're gonna do a duet session.
We
It's
are
been a
doing.
while.
It's been a while.
A while. And
It's been a while.
Not World of Darkness this time, although it is a dark
yes.
world.
Oh, tell me about this. Tell me about this dark world that we're about to dwell in.
Oh, let's see. Wait a minute. I bet I got some juicy back cover
My
copy
stars.
here.
So dark. So dark.
Let's see. No, it's not that juicy actually. Let's see.
Son of a
Maybe.
biscuit. That's not a good start. That's giving me a
Here we
little...
go. Here we go. Here we
Oh.
go. Here.
Okay.
As the sun sets, the shadows grow. As the shops close for the night, the shadows darken. As the
Okay.
businessmen ride the trains to the suburbs, the shadows cover the city. It is night. The streetlights wink on. The city is covered by a web of lights, but it is still night. There are still shadows.
Mhm.
Savage people live in the
What?
shadows.
Wait, what?
Alone, these people of the night are deadly, but they are not alone. They are organized, and at night the city is theirs. Or would be, if not for one man, the Batman, trademark. Welcome to Night in Gotham.
Wait a minute.
It's given a little bit of a 60s Batman.
Are you telling me we're playing Batman?
We are playing Batman role-playing game. The fact there's no definite article in there is kind of hilarious.
What is it? Batman role-playing game.
Oh, actually, if you go
Batman
to
RPG.
if you go to the verso of the title page, it says
Okay.
The Batman role-playing game. Okay, fair enough.
The Batman role-playing game.
Role-playing game.
That's how I would read it.
Yes. The Batman.
The Batman.
The Batman.
The Batman.
So
what is this system?
what is all this?
Because it says like DC. I have a DC Heroes character sheet in front of my
DC
face.
Heroes, indeed. Well, yes, that was.
This is a character record, by the way, which I appreciate. That I like
that. That makes sense.
That's cool.
Where you record your character details.
Very true.
Yes. So that is one just right off the bat. I would ding this
Off the
particular
bat.
product.
Mhm.
Off the bat.
Man.
I would ding this particular product because it did not come with its own character record. So I had to find a separate character record. Now,
what's the meaning of that? Why?
I don't know. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're playing though. So
let's get into it.
So we are, as you surmised from your character record, we are playing the DC Heroes system, specifically the Batman role-playing game.
Correct.
This is a standalone game that the publisher of this DC Heroes, old publisher called Mayfair Games. They were a big deal when I got into the hobby. They are no more.
Okay.
They first published DC Heroes in 1985, and around the same time that this was getting published, they came out with a second edition, which my understanding is that that's the edition where they kind of got everything dialed in.
Right.
This is I was watching something on YouTube about this game, the Batman role-playing game, and some people call this version 1.5 because it was kind of it had most of the changes that they put in second edition, but not all of them. And I don't know the system well enough to know what the differences are. So there you go. So this came out in 1989. Movie buffs might remember that was also the year that Tim Burton's Batman came out.
Yes.
And sort of revived the popular image of Batman and sort of replaced the Adam West Batman in the popular consciousness.
Yeah, when you think about that, that's kind of interesting because, I mean, we've been surrounded by Batmans for a while, but like Batman really does go through like a 15-year kind of cycle where like every 15 years it's like, oh, Batman, and then people start doing Batman. So like
Batman. Oh,
I think it's true. I think that's like just thinking about the years. It's like 65, right? Adam West.
Yeah.
But before that, for the comics, right? So, but that was like in the 40s, right?
Sure.
So we're kind of dealing with like these 15-year cycles of Batman. And then we had we had all of the bizarre 90s Batman stuff. And then Nolan's like, fuck that shit. I'm gonna make grimdark Batman. And even though and then recently we're like, we're gonna give it a deep dark Batman. Like we're gonna make it even darker.
Even darker.
So it's kind of interesting.
Ridiculously dark.
So I'm thinking that the next cyclical Batman after the Pattinson Batman, the Batman stops, we'll get back to campy Batman, colorful Batman again.
I think that's honestly the only way to go at this point.
Yeah. And I live. So I'm looking forward to those 15 years. I just hope I survive it. That's all.
Oh my God.
To see the next Batman.
All right.
But I think we should talk about, so is there anything else about Batman we want to talk about before getting into this? Like
I think
like our relationship with Batman, maybe?
Our relationship with Batman.
Well, like
how we think of Batman.
Yeah, like what do we think about
Batman.
it? Cherish Batman. Sorry, that made me laugh.
Okay, so basically, yes, one moment though. One moment. All right, please to repeat what you said.
Oh, I mean, so we talked a little bit about the system. We talked about when it was released. What else do we need to know about the game before we get into it? And then do you want to talk about like our sensibility with Batman, what our preferences are for Batman, the setting and stuff?
Yes, we should definitely do all of that. So, what else to know about the system? Well, obviously, I've never run it before.
Okay.
I've never played it before,
Nope.
So we're brand new to it.
Yeah.
Why are we playing a iteration of a DC role-playing game that came out 35 years ago almost? Well,
because we can? Like, I don't...
Because we can, exactly. Because it was a Batman role-playing game. Although I think they have done one since then. But nevertheless,
yeah,
this is the one I remember seeing on the shelves at War Games West.
Okay.
Also RIP to War Games West. But but no, this is the one I remember seeing on the shelves. And they apparently printed a lot of them because they were like, oh boy, the movie is a blockbuster. Everyone's going to want to run out and pick this up with this like really boring ass cover.
Archaic, boring ass cover. Yeah, it looks like the '89 Batman logo.
A little bit. Although to be the true '89 Batman logo, they have to cut off either side there.
That's true. So, okay, never mind. So it's more of the '60s Batman logo. Well,
yeah, that's the funny thing is that they just use illustrations from the DC art archives, and so it's still like 80s Batman where he's got that kind of like gray and blue kind of thing going on. Yeah. He's not like
the
all
best camouflage
like
for
beetle
Batman.
black. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Matte black.
yes, and it actually has nothing to do with the Tim Burton movie whatsoever.
No.
Although they do include stats for Vicky Vale, I guess, as a sort of hat tip, to the
she's
movie.
a character. Yeah.
I mean, she's an established character, but
She
also,
exists, but-
they, they cherry picked who they were going to put in the book, and she was one of their choices for obvious reasons, I think. But yeah, like for instance, there's stats for Robin in here, and then you've got Catwoman, and you've got everyone else,
Joker.
all the rest. You got Joker, you've got
it's Joker.
Nightwing.
Oh.
You
They
know,
Batgirl in there?
Question, yes, I believe.
Batwoman too.
Not Batwoman, only
Huh.
Batgirl. Did they? Oh, maybe they didn't. I thought they did. That's weird. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. It's a self-contained game, but I also kind of feel like, I've been in the market for a good superhero system for, I don't know, decades, and
It's been a while.
It's been a while. And yeah, I just kind of figured, I've heard good things about this system. It's also referred to as the MEGS system because it stands for the Mayfair Exponential Game System. I've heard good things about it.
Okay.
And so I'm curious to try it out. And I figure if we enjoy our venture into the world of Batman, maybe I'll pick up DC Heroes, and that'll be my go-to. Because, there are other perfectly fine superhero systems out there nowadays, but, why not? Just because it's old doesn't mean it's no good.
Well, why pick Batman? Why pick Batman instead of like a Marvel kind of the world of Marvel?
Well, that's also a good question. So I think maybe a caveat we should offer up, especially for any comics nerds out there who might be listening.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Not to be all confrontational.
How did you get here?
First of all, apologies in advance.
Well, no, actually, I think no. I mean, there's a lot of apologies in advance, but let's talk about it a little bit. Right. I think it means you're a well-rounded person if you're into comics and you listen to like an actual play podcast. I think you're probably a well-rounded person.
Absolutely. No, I just meant comics fans who are also into listening to actual plays.
Oh yeah.
Not just some random comics fan, but. No, I mean, I think the thing is to say up front is that you and I mean, you're actually more of a comics person than I am, even.
Weirdly, yes.
Weirdly, yes.
But not too much.
Right, and those comics tend to be more of the sort of, I don't know, indie comic or whatever you want to call it, non-superhero comic variety. And for myself, like I never got into superhero comics per se, but I think we can both say that we have enjoyed superhero media throughout our lives because we came into this world right around the same time that the first Superman movie did. And
we did.
We
were in it. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen the first Superman movie. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. And then the Wonder Woman TV show. I mean, this was really kind of
Wonder Woman TV show.
The first wave of like superhero media, that was coming out in the late 70s into the 80s.
True.
And so I think for both of us, that's kind of more our point of reference is like movies, TV shows.
Yeah, but there'd be like exactly. There's like the old Batman
cartoons,
television series, and then there was like the old Spider-Man television series that was in reruns. So I'd see Spider-Man, and then like you said, Saturday morning cartoons. We had X-Men, and then as older teens, like Batman the animated series and Superman,
right? Exactly,
animated, which is so excellent, so well done. So like I think DC has been kind of more of a, aside from X-Men, I would say that general DC heroes are kind of more part of my mindset with superheroes.
Same.
That's modern mythology.
It is, and I think for whatever reason, I think DC. See, nowadays it's all about Marvel, but back then it was more about DC. Like Marvel was the one that was struggling. They were the ones who couldn't get their shit together and figure out how to make the leap into TV and movies, especially. And now it's like the reverse of that. But yeah, so like when
when Burton's 89 Batman dropped, I was 11 years old, so I was like perfect age.
Oh yeah.
Fucking loved it.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing. And then I remember like randomly coming home from school when I was like a freshman in high school, turning on the TV and like Batman, the animated series. I'm like, okay, sure. And then it's like I start letting it wash over me. I'm like, what? Like this is too good. Like I remember thinking that, like this is too good to be on after school TV. Like what the fuck?
Damn it, Fox. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
it was very, very good. Those can be found online very easily, I think.
They're Batman on YouTube.
And I would say the Superman series is excellent as well.
Yeah. I kind of missed that one, but I know you watched it. So.
Oh yeah.
And I think I caught a couple episodes and went, this is just as good, So, but yeah, no, they are out there on YouTube. I think they're also, findable on streaming services if you have the right ones. But yeah, I think that's, other than the fact that it's like they put out a specific Batman RPG, for myself, as a boy and as a teenager, I was gravitated towards DC properties and more specifically Batman,
Yeah.
Because I think also, I just tend to kind of like that in general for superheroes, that kind of more street level stuff, where you're maybe not even necessarily dealing with any powers, you're using your own wits to kind of navigate these issues, so
totally.
Yeah. So that's why Batman, I guess, and with the caveat that our sort of POV is more from the media or the visual media rather than the comic books.
Right.
Certainly we don't really know or care about the intricacies of the timelines and
I mean just like any other character, I think, like that you'd be like if you look at it from like a Pendragon perspective. We're taking these characters and we're just doing what we want with them within the confines of like some of the lore, but not all of it. And it's our interpretation of these characters in that context, So
or even The Green Knight, the movie The Green Knight, which a lot of Arthurian purists hated because they were like, oh, that's not really Gawain, and it's like, well, that's that storyteller's version of Gawain,
Right,
and
exactly.
Yes, it did depart from the literature a little bit, but that's kind of the point. Is every time a storyteller, takes up an iconic character, it becomes a little bit theirs,
Totally. Yeah, that's why it's like fun. So I like DC Comics and comic heroes in general. Unlike you, I'm more into like the superpower kind of thing. So Superman and Wonder Woman are more of like my jam, where it's like, and like X-Men, where it's like, oh, you have these powers, like how do you, how do you handle them? How do you work with them? I like the Batman movies generally overall. I mean, Christian Bale is a really good Batman to me. Pattinson did a great job as well. So like, and Michael Keaton's like, well, whatever. So like, it's just Batman. So like,
he wasn't as bad as everyone feared.
No, it was fine. But like, Senor Bale was great. I like that a lot. I enjoyed that stuff up until the third movie.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight are a good, solid Batman thing that I like. It's fine. And then, and Pattinson did a good job. So I'm just saying, like, it's fun. It's a fun world to explore, and I'm excited to see where we go with it. So, and it's our interpretation.
Perceptive listeners will notice the gigantic gap there that had absolutely nothing to say about Batfleck or the Snyderverse whatsoever. And
we have no opinions about those at all.
Yes. Haven't seen them.
Don't care to. See them. Not interested. No, thank you. Sorry, everybody. Yeah.
Care to see them.
Not interested. I mean, if you're making Superman grimdark, that's the antithesis of Superman. Like that's just you might as well make Bizarro Superman. So like, I just find that very sad, and I think you need to make Superman the ideal. Like he's an alien, and he's someone who has come to Earth to figure out how to be who he is, and he's faced with a lot of different things that impact that, but not grimdark Superman. Please, no.
No, but yes, he has come to Earth. Thank you for that segue, because that takes me into what I was going to talk about in terms of making our
universe here,
our universe our own. So, like I said, I mean, I'm not super familiar with the comics. So when I was reading through stuff and prepping and thinking about things and whatnot,
we talked about it.
I got to wondering, like, where exactly is Metropolis and
I hope we won't
Gotham
spend too much time on this, but not just enough.
I think this is some hot shit. Honestly.
Well, we have some hot takes. We're serving it up to you fresh. Hot takes. Don't have to agree. It's cool if you have a different idea, but this is what's getting our juices flowing, so to speak.
Exactly. So, all the way up until 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty much my whole life.
That's right.
I had sort of just assumed that the way DC rolled, like Marvel, it's like, these are actual cities. Spider-Man lives in New York City.
Yes.
And he is a hero of New York City.
Right.
And so forth. Mm-hmm. I don't know the rest. And
and the rest.
Yes, they have these sort of fake locations, your Latverias or whatever. These sort of made up spots on the planet.
Place.
Yeah, exactly. But for the most part, you're dealing with real world locations. But of course, obviously in DC, you've got these fake
named
cities, right?
Cities. Yeah, named.
Gotham City, Metropolis, Gateway City, Central City, all that kind of stuff. They like the something city construction,
Just to let us know it's a city.
Yeah, and it's kind of to your point about grimdark Superman. I mean, I think that is another reason I do kind of like DC a little bit more, is just that it doesn't seem to take itself too seriously when it's at its best. It always kind of understands, like, yeah, this is a world with places called Central City and Gateway City and Star City and Gotham City. At a certain point, is like you're acknowledging this is a comic book reality. This is a comic book world. We're not trying to make this all like, it's so realistic and grounded.
Yeah.
I know all the movies have gone in that direction more. And I'm not like saying like we should go back to the days of spandex, costumes or anything. Anyway, saying all of this to say, growing up and through my entire life up until 3 weeks ago, I had just assumed that these DC cities were stand-ins for like actual real world cities. So in my mind, it was like Superman's from Smallville, that's in the Midwest, and he goes to Metropolis. Metropolis must be Chicago. Right. And then Gotham City, well, Gotham's a nickname for New York City. And, New York City certainly had its eras where it was very Gotham City-esque in terms of, just being a kind of tough place to live and lots of crime and, breaking down of the social order and so forth, So I was just like, yeah, Gotham City is New York City. Duh, But then I was like thinking about it. I'm like, maybe I should actually check on that. Like, I wonder if I'm just assuming that. And so I Google it, and what was absolutely fascinating to me, and this is another piece that I really actually like about DC, is that they never really exactly nailed it down themselves. These locations tend to move around. So sometimes, and there's something kind of close to canon these days, but it's still a little like, and it really is. Like, well, different writers would write a story and they'd put Metropolis here, they put it there, or whatever, like, I think somebody said at one point Smallville was depicted as being within driving distance of both cities.
Yeah.
And then there's I think the canon actually these days is that Metropolis and Gotham City are across the bay from each other.
Yeah.
Which, is hilarious when you think about it, because it's like Batman's like fucking fighting this one-man war against all these like insane, cartoon villains, and Superman's just over in Metropolis being like, you need any help? And Batman's like, fuck off, and it's like, Superman's like, I could just fly over. I'm like literally like a 2-minute flight from, I could come over and help.
2 secs, yeah.
If you need help with the Joker, I can totally, no, like,
leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
I don't need your help.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good.
No thanks.
So, and then what particularly irritated me is that, like, then the real world cities do exist. So there's Gotham City, which canonically is in southern New Jersey.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally fits.
But then there's also New York City. And then you see these, like, sort of different things getting thrown around, like, oh, well, Gotham City's got a population of, like, 250,000. I'm like, no, there's no way it had. Albuquerque's twice that size. Like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it's like, it's like, wait a minute.
It's like, wow,
wait a minute.
Like, that makes Batman seem even lamer. He's like, he can't even control like a small suburb.
Well, it's just one man.
It's one Batman.
That's right.
But then also, like, I feel like, I think it was in the Batman RPG. It said something about it being a city of 8 million.
Okay.
Which was like clearly intended as like a New York City substitute, and especially if we are to believe that there's a Gotham City within like a 3-hour drive or whatever. I don't know how long it takes to get from southern New Jersey to New York City, but
not long, I don't think.
Hours drive, to this other city of like 8 million people, which of course is why they dropped the population of Gotham City down, is like make it more believable,
Right.
But I'm like, look. As far as I can tell, Gateway City does exist in place of San Francisco. So we do have, and like Star City exists in place of Seattle. So we do have these like precedents of these DC cities kind of substituting for real world cities. So I'm like, look, in my universe, that's just how it is. If there's an obvious analog, we're plugging it in, and the old city is out of there, right?
Yeah, so New York doesn't exist. So it does take 2 hours to get from South Jersey to New York City.
Okay, all right, nice.
So, yeah.
Okay, so, and then, interestingly enough, people debate about this online too, and there's people that's like, no, Gotham City, Chicago. New York City, everything always goes down in alleyways. New York City doesn't have alleyways, like, and other people are like, oh, Gotham City's got more of a Detroit vibe to me, which I'm like, that's definitely fair. I can see that.
Yeah.
So, but I think at the end of the day, got to go with New York City. It just feels right. So
you're saying we are substituting. We
are substituting. So Gotham City is substituting for New York City, yes.
And this is a long, lifelong dream of yours to have New York City just never exist.
Correct, exactly.
Okay, going with that. You're biased.
Finally erased New York City from the map.
Nice.
And,
okay, good.
Yes.
It's done.
Like the supervillain that I am.
Look, we don't have any listeners in New York. Let's be real. let's be real. We have more listeners in Finland than New York City. Well,
that's probably true.
We're not offending anyone.
No.
And hey, they'd be like, yeah, that's your opinion. Fuck you. That'd be like,
hey, fuck you. Yeah, exactly.
So it's fine. It's fine.
True. Now, that did leave the issue of Metropolis, and
and we had a big discussion about this, but we are just playing in Gotham City, correct?
We are.
Yeah,
There's no Metropolis will not actually feature in this game, but I did kind of want to get an idea of where it was, because what if it is right across the bay?
But also, what if does, I guess in this story, this is kind of our setting, this is our world building part of this game.
Yes.
So for this game, unless this is integral to the story, does Batman know about Superman already?
Oh my god. Okay, you just opened a can of worms.
Son of a bitch. I did not mean to. No, don't. I don't want. It's already been like 35 minutes of this. So, we haven't even played yet.
Look, this is just.
Is this part of the game, or is this part of the what is happening? Why are you
I don't know.
Like this?
This is a thing. This is one of the reasons why I am so ambivalent about like the superhero industrial complex. I know people love team ups.
I love team ups.
I'm not one of those people.
Really
I'm not that into it. Unless it's a rare thing. Unless it only happens occasionally. So I'm sorry, but Justice League, I just don't feel it. I'm not
talking about a league. I'm just talking about if they are adjacent, if Metropolis is adjacent to Gotham, does Batman know about it? And if people are doing crime, if there's like all this crazy vigilante crime fighting being happening by superheroes, do the other superheroes know about it?
Right. No, that's an excellent question.
I know.
I ran across something in my readings that, basically said that originally, way back in the day, back in the 40s, every superhero was basically assumed to just exist within their own world.
Dimension.
I
kind of like that idea.
Exactly. It makes it more interesting. I don't know.
Anyway.
So, like, Superman was the only superhero on his planet, and Batman was the only superhero on his planet, and so forth. But, like, I forget, there was some like kind of crossover event at some point that kind of like, it was like, oh, well, these guys actually exist in the same world, like some reference, cross-reference. And then
we're not even going to bring up Green Lantern, all right, everybody?
Yeah,
not.
And then it was just off to the races after that.
Okay.
So I will bow to that. I will say that these heroes exist on the same planet in the same world. Dimension and everything else. However,
what?
I don't like the idea of having them be proximate to each other for the reasons I said earlier.
Okay.
It just seems silly.
That's fine.
So to that end, I was trying to think of where is Metropolis, just an idle thought,
Well,
so
you're planning the whole world, right?
Exactly. So I started looking that up. Now, the first thing I found out right away is like nobody ever thinks Metropolis is Chicago, which sad, whatever.
That's sad to me too.
Yeah. And the fascinating thing, a little bit of comics history, was that the two creators of Superman were living in Cleveland when they created the character, and so they originally pitched it to the local papers as like a like a Sunday strip or whatever. And so in order to sort of appeal to the local, sensibilities, originally Superman was a resident of Cleveland, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
And so apparently there's been some, like if you know where to look, there's like some kind of, you can see that kind of DNA in there in terms of their conceptualization of Metropolis. But also, there was a little bit of Toronto in Metropolis because co-creator Joe Shuster was born in Metropolis and lived there until he was 10.
In Toronto.
Sorry, born in Metropolis. Womp, womp, womp. Born in Toronto and lived there until he was like 10 and then moved to Cleveland. And apparently, like, the Metropolis skyline was kind of, modeled on Toronto skyline and, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, I kind of went around, this is what we talked about, I'm like, well, if Gotham City's Detroit and Metropolis is Cleveland, then they would be kind of proximate to each other across the lake, oh, that's interesting. Or, if Gotham's Chicago and, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I went around and around on it, and at some point I uttered the, unorthodox idea, what if Metropolis were Toronto? Like, actually Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And, what if Smallville isn't in Kansas? It's in, like, Saskatchewan. It's in the Great Plains, but it's north of the border.
It's north of the United States border. It's in Canada.
Yeah,
what you're proposing is Metropolis and Smallville are in Canada, in North America.
Which would make Superman Canadian.
Which I love.
And suddenly, everything clicked.
Everything made fucking sense.
Yes.
And if you are having the brainwaves that we had in talking about this, congratulations, because you are part of this world now.
Yes.
And Superman is Canadian. It is true. Forever.
Absolutely. And when they say truth, justice, and the American way, we're talking about the Americas.
Hello.
The Americas.
North and South America.
Yes.
Superman is not excluding anyone. He includes both Americas, North, Central, and South. That's what he upholds.
Absolutely. He is a citizen of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we settled on. So that is our heterodox take.
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware that there was like a short run alternate universe Superman, comic about like, well, what if he had landed in the Soviet Union instead of the United States?
Right.
So this is just kind of
The
on that same wavelength, but it actually doesn't require us, I think, to change Superman at all. In fact,
No.
he kind of fits that Canadian stereotype of being like very like good-natured and civic-minded and like like interested in helping people out and likable and
saying buddy all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it says buddy all the time.
So,
really the main difference here is that he says things like oot and pasta.
That's it.
So
that's the only difference.
It's the only difference.
But it makes a lot of sense to me. I love the idea, and that's canon for me forever. And
absolutely. And not to be too cynical, but it also positions Batman as like kind of the archetypal United Statesian superhero, because he's dealing with a lot of shit, man, and it just feels like it's all falling apart at the seams. And he's throwing a bunch of money. He's throwing a bunch of money at it to try to make it better. And it's not getting better.
Well, also, if you all want to talk about Superman's costume, it's red, white. I'm sorry, it's red, blue, and gold. And those are not the state flag for the United States. It's navy blue, red, and white. So, like, because his colors are so bright blue and red, and then the gold, it's like, no, it encapsulates the Americas to me, and that's that. So it's canon. Just get used to it.
Locked in. That's not to say that we don't have other superheroes, Green Arrow and Flash and even Wonder Woman when she wants to.
Wonder Woman, that's a whole other conversation. I think this is a very nice convo just overall. I mean, before we get into the game, I think this really sets the stage for like our thinking behind it and our mentality. So perhaps, so in terms of our setting for the Batman role-playing game, what year are we starting this? What are you thinking about this? Like, what do you want to do there?
that is the one thing that I have not settled on. Although I have some suggestions. Okay. But I want your input on this as well.
Let's do some collaboration, yeah.
Let's collab.
Yeah.
So like I said, the Batman RPG is published in 1989. I also picked up the Night in Gotham source book, which is so weirdly formatted. It's almost like a kid's book. It's that kind of like...
It is. It looks huge.
10 by 8 kind of almost square shape, and it's only 40 pages.
That's kind of cool, actually.
I love it, actually, because I was like, I wonder if there've been any other Gotham City source books, and there was one in the early 2000s for yet another DC RPG at the time. And that one is much more your kind of conventional, like, 150-pager kind of thing, where it's like, we're going to give you everything. Drink from a fire hose,
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious if maybe this one's a little too lightweight, but we'll find out.
I think we'd like to flesh things out a little bit in our...
And it kind of fits with where we're going with our general thing. Like, this is our universe, kind of thing,
Yeah. We're letting the whole Canadian bombshell just land a little bit more for people as we're...
Yeah, please just let that aerate.
Yeah, let it marinate a little. It's nice.
Marinate. Yeah.
It's nice. Just savor it.
So the Night in Gotham book is part of the first edition line. Okay. So this was published in '86, which comes across in a few places. I think my favorite spot, I'm just going to quote from the book here.
Okay, let's do it.
So, of course, it has a district-by-district guide to the city, which is also very abbreviated, and is actually written in Commissioner Gordon's voice.
So it's his bias, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are points where he's like, "We're not really sure what's going on here," or blah blah blah.
That kind of gives you some windows of kind of exploring.
It does. Or he just mentions Wayne Manor in passing, not really putting much importance on it.
Yeah. Nice.
So he's describing the district of Glendale, which you know is a familiar name for you and I. Anyway,
it's a Southern California town.
But anyway, he's talking about Glendale, and it says here until recently. Oh, because basically it's home to the Gotham Institute of Technology, or GIT.
Okay.
And the high-profile presence of the Glendale County Sheriff's Department. Okay. So, it says GIT's large modern campus dominates the center of Glendale, and much residential and business activity revolves around the institute as well. So, it says, until recently, area crime was primarily restricted to petty theft from stores and residences, with stereos and personal computers the prime targets. So we're already getting into that 86 vibe right there.
PCs, baby.
He stole my personal computer. And occasional vandalous fraternity pranks. About 3 years ago, however, the eastern, more run-down part of Glendale became a nesting place for the city's quote-unquote punk scene, with the opening of the cavernous new wave dance club Apocalypse. The new wavers, or quote, skinheads, have made no attempt to disguise their distaste for GIT's quote, nerds, and vice versa. Yes. Assaults and vandalism have all risen drastically.
Yeah.
The sheriff's office is working overtime trying to find legal excuses for evicting the apocalypse.
Oh my god. So...
Cue Black Flag's police story right here.
Yeah, basically. Okay.
I mean, what I make of that is like it immediately made me think of that ABC after school special, whatever it's called, like so your kid's gone punk or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like that kind of like mainstream perception of punk rock in the 80s, which was like, speaking of cartoons, I mean the fact that it's like the new wavers or skinheads, it's like no, that's not even, they're not even in the same universe.
Right. It's like, sorry guys, you tried it.
And just, using punk and new wave like interchangeably, viewing punks as like these just like nihilists who are just out to destroy everything and who basically are just like jocks.
Right. Yeah.
But with like, outrageous hair who like hate nerds, even though the punks were the ones getting the shit kicked out of them by jocks at the time.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
if anything, the punks and nerds have more in common than.
Well, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely true. To this day. So it was just
Scandalous.
It was just hilarious to me. I was like, wow, this was definitely published in 1986. Because I mean, that's the other irony is that by 86, I mean the American hardcore punk scene had basically fallen apart.
Yeah.
And it was punk in general was going into a period of remission. And then they're just talking about it like it's still like, oh, have you heard about this band called the Sex Pistols?
Ridiculous. I love it. That's funny. Okay.
Anyways,
so in terms of our setting and time
in terms
period,
of our setting, I kind of feel like we should just use the material that's presented to us, which would place it in the late 80s, right?
Okay.
Plus, I'm just, any listener to our Nightlife series knows that that's just kind of an era we like to set games in because there's a certain familiarity there.
Yes, you do.
I do personally, yes. There's a certain familiarity there.
I've not set them in that time period on purpose, but...
Oh, well, I see. A disruptor.
Don't start that shit. Do not. I'm just telling you, you kind of did this and I'm like, no, you're the one who sets it in those time periods. I'm
yes,
like,
but you like playing in those time periods.
I don't mind
you enjoy
it.
Playing in those time
It's fine.
periods.
It's fine. It works because
Anyway.
I'm open to it. Yes.
Yes, and and like, but it's just modern enough to be familiar without being so modern that it's like, oh, what about this latest technology? We don't have to worry about like AI bots or something.
Well, Batman's already creating those things because he's a scientist, so he's already developing those things in the 80s because he needs them for crime fighting. So
exactly.
So we're kind of covering
that's
our
another
bases,
reason, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
We're covering our asses.
We don't have to come up with some sci-fi shit that
No.
we don't. It's like I don't know what the fuck, but it's like, oh, what if Batman has the equivalent of a smartphone in 1989 or whatever? Like, oh, okay.
Which he kind of did.
So,
he should.
So we'll do that.
Okay, cool.
What's that? Wait,
No,
what?
he should, and he did.
He should. Yes, absolutely. No. So we'll do that, and then the other question, of course, is one of canon, one of timelines. I'm not planning on featuring Robin in this introductory adventure, but I'm not averse to featuring Robin. In fact, there was even a part of me was like, maybe Des should just play Robin, you know? But
No, I want to play Batman.
yeah. And I should mention
sure.
I should mention that the Batman RPG does actually come with its own character generation mechanics if you want to make your own character, but then they give you all these other, you know, characters that you can just pick, you know, which is exactly how DC Heroes works as well. You know, it's like here's literally any number, you know, you play Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, all the way down to like you can play Deadshot or, you know, Shade the Changing Man or whatever, you know, like just these guys, you know, these sort of C-listers, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, you want to play Batman, that's cool.
Yeah.
But apparently, from more investigations, around this time, around 89, Robin was going through kind of an identity crisis because, hilariously, DC put out a phone poll, you know, like call this 800 number and vote yay or nay on whether we should kill off Robin. And this was the second Robin. Dirk Grayson had gone on to become Nightwing.
Oh, no, that did not go
well.
And
so the second Robin came along, and people were like, oh, this is just like Metallica's new bassist. You know, we just can't get into it.
Wow, timely reference. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it was for 89.
Yeah.
And...
yeah, I know. That's why I said it was timely.
Thank you. No, Timely Comics was the... No, anyway.
No.
So...
Don't start.
I won't. Anyways, yeah. So the vote was a close one, but it was ultimately yes, kill off Robin, and then so they did, and I think right around this time, although I think it was after the RPG came out because we have the stats for Robin in here, and I think it's the second Robin, although I'm not sure. Now I have to check. Anyway, I'll be checking that while I'm talking. And then DC was like, well, do people even want Robin at all? Or yeah, no, it's the second Robin. It was like, did they want him killed off because they don't like Robin, or they just didn't like this Robin, you know? And they're like, shit. So anyway, eventually they brought in a third Robin, and then there was a Lady Robin at one point, and then there was a fourth Robin who's like Bruce Wayne's kid, which is, you know, interesting.
It's not wrapping it up. No bat condoms.
He didn't use his bat prophylactic.
Raw dogging.
Across
Gotham City.
That's right.
All right.
Anyway.
Don't do that.
So
just don't do that, guys.
Yeah. Put a lid on it.
Please.
Anyways, wrap it up.
Not you. I mean, you know what I mean. So okay, so you basically are saying we're setting this in the mid to late 80s.
Mid to late 80s, kind of a nebulous mid to late 80s.
Fine.
Second Robin is still around for whenever he wants to show up.
Okay,
cool.
Know. We honor second Robin, and then also Gotham City is New York City essentially.
Yes.
And I am playing Batman. I mean, that's
correct.
Pretty much it. That's everything.
That's pretty much it. I sent you a dossier with information on Gotham.
Yes, which I did not read.
That's fine. It's there.
Sorry.
It's there for your reference, really.
I wish that I had read it beforehand. I think we weren't sure if we were going to play or not. So
that's right, and that's why I'm mentioning it now.
Shit. Well, I like to be prepared.
Sure. Well, good thing this is session 0, and then we'll get into session 1.
Okay.
But if you just want to open up the dossier.
Oh, where did you send it to me?
Emailed it to you.
You know Gotham means Goat's Town, right?
Yes.
And that basically
it was
the Middle Ages make
insult.
Gotham out to be a village of simple-minded fools.
Yes. There is actually a mini scenario in the Great Pendragon campaign that references that very episode.
Okay. When did you send
In
that?
the village of Gotham.
Gotham dossier.
There you go. The dossier.
It's 9 pages.
It's 9 pages. So I think about halfway through, there's a map of Gotham.
Yes.
Now, interestingly enough, just further to my point, this is not the same. If you Google Gotham City map, this is not the map you will find nowadays, because they actually did develop a canonical map in the early 2000s that has it split between 3 islands, which is why then in the Nolan films and the recent Batman film, there's all this stuff about bridges and like flooding and all that kind of stuff, you know.
God.
You'll notice that this Gotham City is much more sort of snugged up into a little bay, and
Yes, I can
isn't
see
really a city of islands at all,
No,
really.
it's not.
But anyway, so I wanted to get that to you because
I appreciate
the way we're gonna start is we're gonna use the Night in Gotham sourcebook because it has this very cool patrol mechanism.
Ooh.
And it's basically a sandbox. I just say, all right, Batman,
Okay.
you know, shadows, et cetera, what I read earlier, you know, you are the Bat, et cetera.
The Bat, yes.
And, you know, where do you want to patrol tonight? And you can just decide, you can look at that map and you can pick out, you know, whatever district you want to be patrolling, and you can ask me. I'm happy to you know, expound on details. But you know, you'll just pick a district. I roll some dice to see if anything's going down in that particular sliver of time.
Okay.
And then if there is, then I roll on a sub table to see what's going on. If there isn't, then you can decide whether you want to linger there, and I'll just roll again. You have a certain number of units of time, and we'll get into what I mean when I say units of time next session.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you have a certain number of units of time that you have every night to patrol, or to do anything really, but you know, mainly to patrol. Okay. And so it's entirely on you how you want to do it, like where you want to go, how long you want to linger, you know, you know, and then what to do if you see something going down, of course, obviously, you know.
Okay.
And from there we will see what happens. So
Okay, cool.
kind of doing a little open-ended thing here, you know, but
okay, cool.
I have some scenario triggers in place as well, so
that'll be interesting.
It will indeed. So I think that about covers our session 0.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, you know, I prefer to like when we do session 1, just like going down the character sheet. That's not so much of session 0 for me all the time, I guess.
No, certainly.
But because I feel like we're just going to just repeat it when we start up on session 1.
Yes, totally.
So,
no, I think a system review at the top of the first session is good for sure.
Okay, cool. All right, so we will reconvene and kick this off.
Alrighty.
Cool.